What better way to say goodbye to a year filled with so much that couldn't be explained by looking at the jerseys that their existence is also a mystery. Hello, friends, and welcome to the final Selby is Godcast of 2024. What a year it was. We're not going to go all the way and look back at everything that happened. I feel like we do that every single week. But we are going to have some fun with it today. I promise, once we get past, maybe, Zach getting the last bit of his curmudgeonness out. You see, you have to get that out before you go into 2025. So it's a new year, new you. Get the last bit of it out.
We do not do enough show prep for you to predict that I'm going to be a curmudgeon once again.
Why do I need to predict that when I see it every single week?
I'm leaving that all
behind. Is it not a
behind.
surprise?
I'm going to be like you.
Okay.
You made a vow to be more positive and not gripe about things that you had no control over, and maybe that'll be my resolution for the new year.
That's fair. I mean, when we were talking a little bit about this show, I had brought up some topic ideas, and you told me you almost don't want to talk about it because you don't want to get yourself all worked up right before the new year.
Yeah, I'm tired of it. I've always wondered how, whether you're a radio host or just someone on social media who seems to have an opinion on everything, just how you can be so passionately driven by every single thing that happens in sports. There are so many people like that. Aren't you tired? I'm tired watching all your takes. I never want to be that guy.
Isn't the football team making you feel enough pain every Sunday? We have to carry it with us for the rest of the week as well.
Or apathy. And so then it gets to the point where don't care what's happening on the field and
yeah,
this battle between ownership and the city, kind of just want everybody to lose. And I don't know. Thank God for the Cavs.
Thank God for the Cavs. This is a fun time of year because I get to reset some of my thoughts and opinions as I talk to maybe parts of my family or people that I don't see all the time. They ask me opinions, and I have to almost go within myself to see where I sit in this very moment as they ask me for a very succinct, quick opinion on where the Guardians are at this offseason. So it always allows me to reestablish how I feel as I explain it to somebody else as they're asking me. Did that happen for you again? I feel like it's a yearly thing that just happens this time of year. How's the Guardians offseason looking? How do you like it? And I'm always like, okay, how much time do we have here? Let's sit down, let's get a coffee first, and then let's explain it.
Yeah, I will say the Browns dominated the Christmas family get-together discussion more than the Guardians did, which is a pretty good reflection of just Cleveland in general, I guess. But there's also more to dissect there too. I mean, you're talking about the quarterback situation, and I had uncles debating whether the front office should be fired, the coach should be fired, the stadium stuff. There's just a lot to sink your teeth into, and a lot of it is just tailor-made for those family get-togethers. So not as much on the Guardians, which it's kind of surprising, just given the I would think, the trades that they made. I think people want to hear our opinions on them because maybe they're a little confusing to the casual fan. Is that what you experienced?
Yeah, it's something to that degree. Although I try to, we get through it. But this is a time of year where I'm looking for hope and optimism. That's what this holiday season should be, I feel like. And sometimes I feel like maybe you have felt on this show where I was just a curmudgeon explaining much of the Guardians offseason throughout Christmas. So you did get some time to actually have fun with your family, right? So, new parents, now you have two of them. I know one is so little that Christmas doesn't matter, but it had to be a fun experience for you.
Yeah, I mean, my 2-year-old kind of gets it now. So he thought that the Santa, who I'm pretty sure was high out of his mind at Petiti's, was the same Santa who was coming to deliver him presents. And yeah, so it was a lot of fun. As you know, he's been just obsessed with the Guardians media guide and the Hall of Fame guide that has just a picture and bio of every member of the Hall of Fame, which I also should say I filled out my ballot and mailed it and never want to hear about it again. That
Oh my
was
goodness.
a stressful process.
How many names? How many names?
10 names. And one guy I left off who is going to haunt me in my dreams.
Oh, no. Why do I feel like I know what this is?
Anyway, it's so we figured, okay, it's Christmas. This kid's going to get millions of gifts. And he'll finally forget about, he's flipping every page. And it's the media guide from spring training. So he's asking family members if they know who Estevan Florial is, or if they've ever met Adam Aller. And so we were very excited for him to get new things to replace this. Anyway, that lasted about a day. He's back with the media guide and the Hall of Fame guide, and he's rifling off. It was funny. I was reading Jay Jaffe of Fangraphs does such a great job of contextualizing all the Hall of Fame candidates every year. And so I was reading his content in recent weeks, and I just remember reading one article where he's comparing some Hall of Fame candidate to all these other Hall of Famers, and it's all these old-timey names. It's like Wee Willie Keeler and someone else. I'm like, I've heard my son say these names in recent days. Like, I should just have my son fill out the ballot. So anyway, he's as baseball obsessed as a 2-year-old can be, and spring training's right around the corner, so there will be a new media guide, and there will be a lot of new names and faces for him to get acquainted with.
You never know if you're doing the right thing as a parent, too. Like letting them get obsessed with this sport that we now rip our hair out week after week. Am I setting himself up for future disappointment? I guess probably. But you also get the joy out of it, too.
I could have him memorize the names of the 35 quarterbacks the Browns have started since 1999.
That also would be, that would probably blow up on TikTok, so it might be worth visiting in the future. I'm on the other end of the spectrum. My mom, we had gotten the kids a PS5 for Christmas, and of course, it's partially my present too, right? Because the kids go to bed. What do you think I'm going to do? And my mom had gotten a few PlayStation games, and one of them she got Ethan, he unwrapped, was MLB The Show 24. And he looked at it and he's like, okay, well, my dad's going to play this. And he just chucked it to the side. My son is just not, he's not there. I don't know if he'll ever be there. And I don't get upset about that because I didn't care about most sports until I was like in 5th grade. And he's in 3rd now. So he's still got some time to be in the same position I was. But it's a little bit different over in this household. Now I'm like begging, come on, come over here. Let me explain who these players are. We've got bobbleheads in his room, and no, it's just not there. So we'll see.
Well, the one thing that was cool was, when we did our game rewatch, and go listen to that from last week, where we reviewed Game 3 of the ALCS between the Guardians and the Yankees. Yeah. I watched it with him.
Where can they find that?
You watched it with them? Wherever you get your podcasts.
Patreon.com/Selby's Godcast.
Oh, that was a Patreon.
That was a Patreon one.
Lose track. These weeks at the end of December, they all play.
Our intern takes care of all of it for us, so we don't know what's happening.
That's true. But I just pulled it up and I watched it with him. And the only downside is he thinks baseball is still in season. So every day he'll be like, can we turn baseball on? Which, thank God for YouTube. But
yeah,
it was nice. I didn't have to wait till he went to bed to watch all 4 hours of that game.
And you made him actually sit through all 4 hours with the commercials included. Here's me fast forwarding through all of that. But no, you're sitting there devouring all the commercials. I get it when these are old games that we do. But the commercials, I am so over all of them. Even the few that came up that I haven't seen in a couple of months, I was just so thankful as I was fast forwarding through them that I didn't have to sit through them again. No more of those beer commercials where it is both. I'm going to lose it if I see that commercial one more time.
What about the guys from Scrubs singing about T-Mobile? You like Zach Braff and Donald Faison?
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. No, let's get mad over moves not made by the Guardians. And some made by teams that you would argue You wouldn't expect them to make moves. Let's start first with the bit of, I don't even say it's news, it's rumor, if you could even call it that. But the Detroit Free Press a couple of days ago reported that the Gleyber Torres signing happened. He goes to Detroit, and there were a few teams that were still interested in him, according to the report. One of them was the Guardians, which knocks you out of your chair a little bit until, really, Zach, you think about it a little bit. And throughout the report, there was the bit about Torres telling his agent he only wanted a one-year deal, which to me still it feels a little bit like after the fact. Like, you tell them I only wanted the one. You don't. I didn't accept this. I didn't have to struggle to accept this. I wanted this. You make sure you tell everybody that. It felt a little bit like that to me, but I read into it not knowing how much truth there is to saying there is some interest at some point by some team. We don't have anything more than that, but to me it feels so much like what this organization does when a free agent is out there in a unique position that's a good player. They want to know at least a little bit about it. A one-year deal for a player like that, if he's willing to accept it. If the Guardians weren't involved in it, I think I'd be more upset if I found that out after the fact, because you have an opening at second base. You just traded away your second baseman. You do have some at least intriguing options that you can plug in there at second base. None of them proven. And for 1 year, you should absolutely take a shot on a guy like Gleyber Torres. Now, he goes in division here, and that's a little bit concerning because Detroit continues to make themselves better. What do you take away from the news that Torres is at least on the Guardians' radar before he lands with Detroit?
Yeah, so how often have they handed a starting everyday job to somebody on opening day who had no major league experience? Because we can use some revisionist history and say, well, Stephen Kwan did this a few years ago, but Stephen Kwan was always intended to return to AAA after a week or two when Josh Naylor came off the injured list. But then he went nuclear for that week or two, and they kept him up. So it goes against every fiber of their being to just say, hey, Juan Brito, you're the everyday second baseman starting March 27th or whatever. Now, they have Tyler Freeman and Gabriel Arias and Angel Martinez and everybody else. So it's not like it has to be Brito and it has to be Brito every day. But is there room for a veteran guy? And Brito can work his way into it, force their hand a little bit, move around defensively? Of course. They should still be in the market for good hitters. Whether they play second base, right field, doesn't matter where. To an extent. Center field. Now the question is Torres a good hitter? He's been 12% above league average for his career, but it's a weird career. He was incredible as a 21 and a 22-year-old his first 2 years in the league, 2018, 2019, all-star both seasons, but it's been a long time since then. He was still really good hitter in 2023. 25 homers, 800 OPS, 118 OPS plus. But last year dropped off a bit. He had, 2021, he was really bad. So there's risk involved. That's before even mentioning his defense. And, so you want to, it's one of those where like, I believe that there was interest because a report coming from the team he signed with, and then you get all the names, that's probably coming straight from the agent who was talking about the process. So yeah, sure, there was some level of interest by 8 to 10 teams. How interested were they? When were they interested? Those are questions too. And as we've said, like, not really in the business of giving a pat on the back to any team in any sport that finishes second or third in the running or claims to have finished second or third. So, it's interesting, and I guess it would just make me keep my eyes open the next month or so as the rest of the offseason unfolds. But it's not shocking that they would have some reservations about just trotting out some unknowns because, as we've said too, you also have an unknown at shortstop. Brian Rocchio had a great postseason, but that doesn't just erase a pretty lousy regular season at the plate. So there are questions there too, and if you can minimize those questions, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm certainly with you, not giving anybody any credit for at least being interested. And I didn't see that, by the way, so I don't want to yell at some clouds here for something that doesn't even exist, making a straw man out of a situation. Everyone knows where we stand on that. No credit is earned from just being involved in the process. And we don't know to what level either. One phone call could be interest, and it's just, hey, where we at on things? Okay, that's nowhere close. Goodbye. That's interest. This, to me, I don't know how much I can read into them not being certain about what they have at second base, because it feels like a lot of this would come down to if the Guardians found out that Gleyber Torres is willing to accept a one-year deal. This is a unique situation, and they love those. Even when you go back to Edwin, they paid him handsomely, but that was a unique situation where there were only 3-4 teams tops bidding for his services at the time, and it was the market coming back to Cleveland. Was he somebody that at the beginning of the offseason they threw up on the whiteboard and circled 12 times and said, we got to get this guy? Or was that a case where it kind of fell into their laps, and this was a unique situation? They couldn't get a hitter like this normally in many years, but because of where they finished in 2016 and maybe some extra money that they had lying around, they wanted to make all this happen, and it just came together. Torres kind of feels like a unique situation where it's a good player that, yes, has had some inconsistent seasons, but when you're asking me, let's simplify this. Is Gleyber Torres a good player? Yeah, he's a good player. That's it. And they need good players. And for 1 year, there aren't many bad one-year contracts. This could protect them at that position. And so I see the ball bouncing here as they try to figure out why this could make sense for them. So I don't know that this is a panic on their part, that what they see in front of them is not good enough. To me, it just feels like, hey, we like him and have liked him for a while, and this is a case where we could get him on a one-year contract. We could afford that. We absolutely should be in the mix. And I really don't think it's anything more than that.
Yeah, I think it's a good signing by the Tigers. I think.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
And it sounds like they're not done. So be curious to see what they do. Division's interesting. It's going to stay interesting. Someone has to win it.
The Tigers are doing what the Guardians should be doing.
Yeah.
You're close. Okay, you just got beat by Cleveland. You're not gonna stare at this offseason and say, well, internal development and shifting some pieces here and there, and maybe taking some shots at some pitching that's long shots, but we have faith in our ability to turn them into something. Instead of doing that, the Tigers have targeted free agents. They haven't gotten all that they wanted, but they're still out there making it happen. Doesn't always translate on the field, but it is what you should be doing in the offseason for sure.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to fall for your trap here. I know you're trying to get me to yell about Corbin Burns and the Diamondbacks and how Arizona, with a very unsettled TV situation and playing in that division, not some massive market where they draw tons of fans and they're a brand. They've got a huge payroll. And they signed Corbin Burns, and they finished third in the NL West, but they were 89-73. They were on the cusp of the playoffs. Obviously, they went to the World Series the year before, but it's taking that and it's building off of it. It's trying to sustain something. I give them a ton of credit. I did not see Corbin Burns signing with Arizona. I don't even know if I like the contract, to be honest, but it's hey, I know they're trying.
I know there were some extenuating circumstances here that made Arizona intriguing to Corbin Burns too. Location. I believe he just had twins, and so family played into this. And hey, that may be true, but Arizona still has to step up and make it happen. And to their credit, that they did, and they could have looked at the fact that the Dodgers are in front of them and just continue to spend money years into the future that they don't even have to think about right now, and say, well, what are we supposed to do? Why even try at this point? But to their credit, they're trying to make it happen. I give them a lot of credit for that, and taking an extreme risk. But you got to do that when you're in a division with the Dodgers. You can't just sit back and say, well, I hope this is our year. Hope this is the year it all works out okay for us. I do. I give them a lot of credit for that. And to be clear, I'm not expecting the Guardians to go out and hand out massive 6-year contracts every offseason.
No.
It's just a matter of when you have a hole, you should be allowed to go out and spend the $15 million for 1 year to fix a position. And too many times, instead of doing that, it's how do we shift the pieces so at the very least we stay where we're at in our payroll? That's ridiculous.
I mean, they have the same payroll they had in like 2001. It's, I don't know. I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Got all my crankiness out.
Okay. All right. Well, let's make a pact here then. Let's bring positivity as we enter 2025. Let's do it at the end of this show, and then later this week over at Patreon, let's bring more positivity. I was going back through old shows, and I saw that going into 2024, we each named 3 players, I think it was players, that we were eager to see, excited for in 2024. Let's bring that back later this week. Players that we're excited to see, 3 each in 2025. And let's also look back at who we named in 2024 and laugh at ourselves, but let's bring the positivity into 2025 later this week. That sound good?
I feel like we're going to name the same people, though.
Well, let's do at least a little show prep. Let's not do what we normally do.
But is it more fun
just
if
a
we,
little bit
what
of
if we
show
do? What if we name the same people? It'll be like the Newlywed Game. Let's try to match.
Try to match. Okay. Let's not do that. Let's actually talk about it a little bit. So let's do that later this week. Right now, as I promised everybody, this will be our last glimpse back to 2024. What better way to do it than the random jerseys that brought us here?
So every year, my eagle eyes and myself, we spot these true gems. Like, why are you wearing a Tom Masney jersey? Why are you wearing a Cecil Fielder jersey? But and every year I do this, I think, we're gonna run out. There's nobody left. No one is gonna retroactively go get that random utility player who got the September call-up in 1996. They're not going to do that now. If you had that jersey, you would have worn it. You would have seen it.
And the only 2 people that would do it are sitting here on this show.
Every year I'm blown away. And I compile a top 25 list at the end of every season. And because I've been on paternity leave, I never had the chance to write it. And it just dawned on me the other day, oh my gosh, I have this list, and what am I supposed to do with it? So I figured it'd be a great way to close out the year on the podcast. And I got to tell you, TJ, I think this is as good of a batch of random jerseys as we've ever had. I don't know how we keep doing it.
That's saying something. Are
people just buying the jerseys for the bit? If so, thank you. So we're going to do this a little differently. Instead of just counting down 25 to 1, I've separated guys into different categories. Because
thought we were going to do a 12 days of Christmas
this year, and you'll see why. Like, there's a couple of these categories that were a little difficult to judge versus some of the true classics. So we'll start with solid, but we can do better. And in that category, I've got Kelly Shopik,
Okay.
Jesus Aguilar,
Okay.
Eric Haas, and Ellis Burks, worn by Ellis Burks.
Okay. Now, that's not so random when you wear your own.
No, but I also don't know what he was doing because he wasn't part of Bally's in 2024. So
Why are you here?
I saw the jersey first, and then I realized, oh wait, that's actually Ellis.
So the joke came to life.
Yeah.
The joke is always, as you tweet this out, oh, that's probably Kelly Shopik himself wearing that. Mm-hmm. This one time, it actually was the player wearing it. Breathes new life into the joke. So should I pick a winner from each category? What do you think here? I was really hoping for that 12 Days of Christmas, though, version of these uniforms.
Oh.
The 8th day of Christmas. Give them to me again. One more time.
Shopik, Aguilar, Haas, Burks.
I'm gonna go Aguilar. That feels like a very random one to have, but a good one to have.
Yeah, never really got a chance in Cleveland because they had Santana and Encarnacion. Blossomed sort of elsewhere. Hung around for a long time. Hit 114 homers. In Cleveland, though, 10 for 58. 424 OPS.
One extra base hit? Was there one?
Yes,
I remember a
double.
double at some point. Yeah, I just
Next
remember
category.
that there were radio shows, and this is not to fault them because we probably had the same conversations, but I remember the whole segments devoted to, is Aguilar going to help fix this offense? He had one extra base hit while he was here. And this is a guy that in the minor leagues was all about power.
He was an all-star in 2018 with Milwaukee.
So weird.
This
But
category is...
I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. Let's be fair.
I didn't know we were
here.
spending this much time on Jesus Aguilar.
I don't know how many categories. I don't know how many jerseys we have here. I'm gonna milk it for every bit that it's worth. They cut him loose. We criticize them for sometimes cutting loose players that go elsewhere. They cut him loose because they brought in Edwin Encarnacion, and they had answers at first base already. There was nowhere for Aguilar to be. He had already been up here and not proven to be a lot. We get upset about many players they let get away. This one was because they actually did what we talk about. Go sign the proven veteran DH instead of just putting the young guy in that position and hitting go. So fair is where fair is.
Sure, it hasn't been that long, but why do you own this? Is the next category. Sandy Leon, Delino DeShields Jr., DeMarlo Hale, Yu Chang, Yasiel Puig, Mike Zanino, Enyel De Los Santos, Zach Plesac, and Daniel Johnson.
Wow, what a group. I'd say the winner of that category is DeShields.
Oh.
It's easy to forget that he was even here for a year. And everyone should remember the trade that he was a part of is the trade that helped bring the all-universe closer, Emmanuel Clase, and the Corey Kluber deal. But for 1 year, Delino DeShields was all they had to show for that. Because you were waiting a year for Clase.
He was a nice guy. He was a terrible hitter. Did not understand why he needed to be involved in that trade. And I'm not really sure why anyone would get his jersey since that was also the 2020 season. It's not like you got to watch him play in person. So, yeah.
Surprised anything from the 2020 season got out. Everything was kept in that bubble. And then
So then
got
the
rid
next
of.
category is it really hasn't been that long, so why the hell do you own this? Tuki Toussaint, Lucas Giolito, Noah
Ugh.
Syndergaard, Daniel Norris,
Daniel
Darren
Norris.
McCawkin,
Your favorite.
and the catching tandem of Mabrys Valoria and Zach Collins.
Oh my goodness. This is unfair. As you started this, there were so many that I was saying, I would love to have that. I really want to have the Giolito one. I would love to have that one. His
So this
first start
category-
is immortalized in Guardians history. Quite possibly the worst debut anyone's ever had for the team.
The day David Fry had to pitch 4 innings. So these names are all
Oh no,
ones...
oh no, did that lead to his injury?
Ooh.
Oh my
Wait,
God.
this would be a good episode of Dateline or something. 2020.
Put this on the History Channel at 3 a.m.
Yeah, I'll have to dig into that.
I just
All these
followed
names,
it.
like if we see these jerseys in 10 years, they would be the best. Like these are the ones that win. Like we'll eventually, later on in this exercise, I'll list the previous winners. And it's all people like this who were here for a cup of coffee you forgot about. The only difference is these guys played here last year. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, every time you said a new name, that was my new favorite. That's the problem in this category. Touki Toussaint, 1 start, 3 2/3 innings.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember like one thing about each of these guys. Syndergaard always wanted to cry after his starts, I think, because he was just really going through it, couldn't figure out where his talent had gone. Toussaint was just he was such a great dude. Daniel Norris, I remember talking to for like an hour one day, and he had the most incredible story and material. The guy lived in a van and all that, which is well known. But I remember thinking, my God, I'm going to write just an opus on this dude, and then he disappeared. Valoria, why was he on the opening day roster? He got like 4 plate appearances. And then Zach Collins, the only thing I remember about him is he accidentally, when a couple of us were talking to him in spring training, he put eye black on his lips instead of chapstick. So
That's still one of the greats.
That's all I remember.
That's one of the great stories. How does that happen? Oh, it would make for a great sitcom episode. The whole game he just plays, no one says a word to him. Oh, so many good names in there. I don't know if I could pick a favorite. Can you sway me one way or another?
No. I
didn't think you could.
I mean, so like full transparency, what likely happened is these were just jerseys that they're just trying to sell because what else are they going to do with them? And people see them in the team shop and maybe they don't even know who the player is, but they're like, hey, I have $75 or whatever they cost. And like, let's just get this. My last name is also Norris, so I'll get a Daniel Norris jersey. But doesn't take away from the fact that like you are voluntarily wearing a Maybreeze Valoria Guardians jersey when you could have had a
I would
Stephen
much
Cole.
rather do that. I would much rather do that than
but you're
invest
not
money
the
in a
average
guy
person.
that they're going to trade in a year.
And
This one at
instead
least
get
has
the guy that they DFA'd after 5 minutes.
It has an amazing story to it. I could have an Andres Jimenez jersey, and he's no longer here, and he was good while he was here, and you appreciate it, but
Wait, you
what am I
would
going to do
think
with
he was
that?
good?
What am I going to do with that afterwards? It's just going to find time in the back of my closet. It's not fun to wear that anymore, but Daniel Norris, who gave them 12 2/3 innings last year, a 5.68 baseball, that ERA, I think Touki Toussaint wins. I'm going to give it to Touki Toussaint.
Okay. Next category is simply, what on earth are you doing with this? There's only 2.
Things also Zach says to his kids.
Max Moroff, who you remember from 2019, and Jake Jewell, who was a reliever who was called up for about a week in 23. Never got into a game, and that was it. It's like he had a locker for a week, but you never saw him pitch. And yet, someone has his jersey.
I don't know if I... A guy that never appeared but did have a jersey that is fun, I don't know if I can give it to them.
But Moroff actually played and was bad, and you still got his jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to give it to Moroff.
Yeah. All right. Next category is relievers of yore. How about Steve Reed? Ron
Side armor.
Vallone.
Ron
Scott
Vallone.
Radinsky. He was
Is
in
it
a
his
metal
player?
band.
Did he play with Cleveland? Or we only
He
coached
did.
with Cleveland?
Yes, very briefly in the year 2000.
Couldn't remember.
Wearing number 36. 2001.
Okay.
2 appearances. 1 uniform. Frank Herman, the Harvard Heater. Jeff Beliveau. Remember when he got a save?
Yes, I do.
In a beer shower. Joe Cologne. Scott Sauerbeck. Is there something with him hiding from police in the bushes? Will it? Boone Logan. And then honorable mention would be Paul Shuey and Vinny Pistano, but those aren't super random.
No.
What do you like here?
Wow, there's some really good ones here. I think I'm going to have to give it to Ron Vallone. The funny thing is, he appears with Cleveland in 1998, right? And this is in the midst of they really need any sort of pitching at all. And he pitched, 25 games in relief for Cleveland, and then that was it. And he eventually goes on. That was in 98. He pitches until 2009. 2009. And I mean, he made his big league debut in 1995, and he pitched until 2009. And it always killed me. Cleveland, that's so desperate for pitching, and they'll trade hitters they probably shouldn't to try to get any pitching that's even mediocre because they needed it at this point in their lifespan. And Vallone went elsewhere and actually put up a couple of, as a starter, had some decent years, went to Cincinnati, and ended up going 142 innings of 4.23 ERA, which is 10% above average for that time period in baseball. And he's also had some bad years after that, but still came back and also had a season where he had 79 appearances, 70 appearances, was a starter, bounced between starting and relieving, had a good career. And here's Cleveland that had him for 5 minutes, and they were so desperate for pitching. And then that was it, and he ended up being decent elsewhere. I remember how they got him. He was in the Grissom trade. Came over with Fetters and Ben McDonald, who Fetters never pitched with Cleveland. Remember, he was traded almost instantly. Do you remember who for?
To what team?
I'm going to get the team here. Yeah, it was. It was Oakland. Traded him straight up for another pitcher.
No. Carsey. No. Who?
Yeah, Steve Carsey.
Oh.
So that one worked out okay.
Yeah.
Ben McDonald, not so much.
So three people who didn't really fit into any category. Bip Roberts, which I think is a really good one. Bobby Ojeda. He, of course, was on the boat the night of the Little Lake Nelly tragedy. Came back and pitched that season. He had suffered some pretty bad injuries and obviously went through a lot mentally and emotionally. Came back, pitched nine games for Cleveland in 1993. And of course, the legend, our podcast namesake, Bill Selby. Which isn't even random. That's like having a jersey of Hank Aaron or
yeah, it's
Willie
like
Mays.
a Hall of Fame. Yeah, Hall of Fame jersey. You know, I was thinking about this, not to take it on a tangent here, but that's what we do. I was thinking about Carlos Santana coming back, and I'd read, he's a pretty good candidate to make it into Cleveland's Hall of Fame when his career is over, the team's Hall of Fame. And so I was thinking about, yeah, he probably deserves that. And we look at the players that we immortalize, but do we ever immortalize moments? And I was thinking about, could you have a Hall of Fame just for moments? Rajai Davis lives forever in Guardians history. You're not going to invite Rajai Davis to be in your Hall of Fame. But could you almost commemorate moments that players were a part of? The Bill Selby Grand Slam. I don't know if that would find its way into a Hall of Fame moment. But it is one that, for those of us that remember it and were there for it, or we can tell people about, it's a pretty, that left a lasting impact on our lives.
There is a way to do that. It's to have a physical place in your ballpark or outside of your ballpark where people can go reminisce. They can look at pictures and the items from that moment and I can tell my kid, hey, I was at this game where Giancarlo Noel hit or remember when you watched this on YouTube? Or yeah, so I hopefully in the near future that will exist, and there can be an area at Progressive Field where you can do that, because that's one of my soapboxes that I've been grinding on for years and years. Is they have 120 years of history, 125 years of history, and they've kept a lot of the stuff in a dimly lit closet in the bowels of the ballpark that you will never see. And it's a shame. They should be trotting all that out there. They're one of only a handful of teams with that depth of history. And they've had a lot of star players, and they've had a lot of moments. I know they sucked for 40 years. And I know that there's been a lot of heartbreak along the way. But you're 100% right. There are so many moments that whether they're immortalized or they're just available for some occasional reminiscing. Like they should be absolutely doing everything they can to draw people to the ballpark, draw people to this area. We've seen some examples of some other teams do it really well. Like the Royals have, obviously the Yankees have Memorial or Monument Park, and the Yankees have this huge wall with baseball signed by every single player who's ever appeared in a game for them. Like things like that. There's when you have 125 years of history, there's so much you could do, and they just haven't done anything with it yet. Like Heritage Park's cool, fine, but there's so much more, and they need to take advantage of that.
And Heritage Park you can go do that during a game, but you're at a game to watch the game. What about just on a random Tuesday to be able to stroll through in February when you're just, I want to get the baseball juices flowing.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be awesome if there was just a place, and that doesn't have to be like fully staffed with tons of people there and place to eat and all that. But wouldn't it be cool if there was just almost like a library of Guardians history that you could stroll through at any point that you like?
There, like I don't know. I mean, yes, there should be that. Obviously, money is always the issue with everything. But there are just so many better ways to deploy all of this memorabilia and everything sitting in these closets. And I don't know. I just, like, instead of a 7th beer garden, you could build a museum. Just a thought.
Yeah, it's sad that what sort of return on the investment would you get? I don't give a shit about that. Sometimes you have to spend money because it's just the right thing to do.
Yep.
And I think it benefits you. It's an investment in the involvement of your fans and wanting to care about your team. It's building a connection with them and letting them be able to experience that moment. If you were there at that ballpark and you saw Giancarlo Noel and you heard the thunder of his bat as that thing sailed into the night, and you, on a random Wednesday, just want to relive that for a minute, to have a place where you can go and see the ball or the bat or the jersey or the dirt or the bit of concrete it scraped in left field. I don't know. Something so that you can bring that moment back, even for 30 seconds. It's worth it. It takes me back to why it was stupid that we're not doing Guards Fest this year. Because it's the connection. It's building memories. It's that 5-year-old that will forever remember when they got to meet a player that didn't matter if it was the utility infielder. He's going to remember that crap for the rest of his life. Why are we screaming about this? And people, and this is, in all fairness, like our friend Jeremy, this is not his problem. He would love to have this ability to showcase this stuff. But somebody in that organization needs to wake the F up and realize that this is such a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's pick a winner of this category.
I like Cranky TJ. Welcome back. I have hope on that front, but we'll see what happens. All right.
I don't even remember who was in this category. Give him to me one more time.
Well, it was just like a little, that was an aside. That wasn't like a.
Oh, okay. So you're telling me I can't pick a winner.
This
Okay.
is the absolute gold standard of random pitchers. Aaron Fultz. Remember him at all? Lefty, 2007.
I mean, I remember the name, yeah, but I
37 innings. Arthur Rhodes. Anytime you can buy a sleeveless Arthur Rhodes jersey, you got to do it.
Oh, so good. This before or after he tried to fight Kenny Lofton?
Omar Vizquel.
Before.
It was after that.
Omar Vizquel, that's right, yeah.
Jim Brower, Billy Traber,
Had such high hopes for Billy Traber.
and Jerry Spradlin. Remember him? Of course you do.
I do,
Who
actually.
wouldn't remember the 3 innings he pitched for Cleveland in 1999?
I mean, there's a
He gave
reason
up
why
6 runs.
I can't remember anything important because I have brain space saved for that. The hopes I had for Billy Traber cannot be described. At that point you're thinking they have all these lefties. They're all going to come up here and be killer parts of this organization, right? Well, about that.
All right, our final category before we declare the winner.
I didn't pick
Oh, that's right.
pick a winner in this category.
Who do you like there?
I'm going to go with Traber just because I had a soft spot in my young heart for Billy Traber.
This final category is called How in God's Name Do You Even Know Who This Player Is? Zach Sorensen. Do you remember him?
Yes.
2003, 5 hits and 37 at-bats. 2 years later, got 12 at-bats with the Angels. That was it.
Somewhere in this basement, I have a hat. It can also be a hat. I have a hat that is autographed by Zach Sorensen.
Oh, it's like when I got a hat signed by Ken Dorsey at training camp and the value of that hat tanked.
He didn't throw it down and stomp on it on camera or anything like that.
Someone actually texted me and told me that they saw Zach Sorensen at the winter meetings a few weeks ago. Don't know what he's doing right now. Michael Aubrey, first round pick. Didn't really work out. 15 games with Cleveland, 9 for 45, 2 home runs. Cord Phelps.
Oh my goodness. We'll
First
always
game I
have
ever
that
covered
walk-off.
after I graduated college. Cord Phelps hit a walk-off home run.
We'll always have that. No one can take that away from us. Speaking of moments that were instrumental to the franchise's history, when you're thinking of prospects that you miss on, who were the ones that you, like we were talking about with Billy Traber, you had high hopes for? Billy Traber, I was very young, so I don't know. You hear that he's good? Cool, I'm really going to like this kid. Being a little bit older and feeling like, I understand this game. I know who's going to be good. Cord Phelps, this dude is going to rake at this level. And you remember there were debates about who's going to be the better second baseman, Cord Phelps or Jason Kipnis. I was a big believer in Cord Phelps.
Matt Joyce, who was with Cleveland in spring training 1 year, and that's it. Matt Ginter made 4 starts for Cleveland in 2008. And Kevin Romberg, who played for the Indians in 1983 or 1982 to 84, but only in 1983 did he wear the number 18 jersey that this fan was wearing one night this summer. In those 3 seasons, total 52 plate appearances with Cleveland and hit 383. What happened, man? Later coached at Cleveland State and Lakeland Community College.
So that actually could have been him?
Yeah, or a family member.
Someone related to him?
Do you have a favorite?
That, personally, I don't have any connection to that, to Romberg, but that is an amazing thing to have in your closet. In the spirit of what this is all about, random, and we look through the bias of recent history because it's what we remember. But if we're being fair to anybody that was a fan in the early 80s, this is like the pinnacle. How could you have that?
How could you have that? 41 games played and you have that uniform? No matter how you got it or what connection you might have personally? That's an amazing thing that still exists.
All right, the winner, who will join an exclusive club that includes past winners Tyler Houston, Mike Rouse, Jason Kubel, Dave Hollins, Pablo Sandoval, and Dick Pohl, the old pitching coach. The winner is Ron Karkovice. And you
What?
think, oh, I remember that guy, longtime catcher for the White Sox. Yeah, did you know he signed with Cleveland in January of 1998?
No.
Spent a few months on the injured list. Never made it to the active roster.
What?
And then was released.
You're telling
And
me the
this
guy
is-
that spent 12 years with the same team appeared in spring training with the Indians? And I don't remember this? No, I don't remember this.
Yeah, and it's his number 26 jersey, which he never wore 26 with another team, but I had my sleuths dig into it and find that he wore 26 with Cleveland that year. Whether spring training, on a rehab assignment, whatever he was doing. He was around the team. I know someone had told me like maybe he was catching bullpens, stuff like that. So he had the number 26 jersey and now someone else has it. Because there's no way they made more of those than they needed to.
Yeah, definitely not back then, you wouldn't think. Oh my goodness. How is that a thing? What's more surprising is I think we've mentioned Ron Karkovice's name now twice in the last 6 weeks on this show.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we were talking something about randomness from the White Sox. And we said, well, whatever the equivalent show would be for the White Sox to the Selby is Godcast. And I said, yeah, like the Karkovice is Godcast.
Great call.
And he, oh my goodness. Wow.
Pretty good year for random jerseys.
That was amazing. What will 2025 bring? Any prediction? Like, look who you see. We saw a year that was filled with guys that only appeared briefly. At times where they make moves, in the Discord people will say, this will make a great future random player of the day or random jersey sighting. Is there anyone that comes to mind that you really are hoping to see in 2025?
No. Oh, I think I forgot Cecil Fielder. There was a Cecil Fielder, too. I might have mentioned him at the beginning, but I think I forgot to put him in a category. No. You know, all those, like, we've seen most of them, or at least I feel like we have. I'm just like, I plug in a random year, and I'm like, yep, I remember there was a Pat Borders one year. I remember there was we see Mark Whitten all the time, I guess. So I don't know, but I just know I will continue to be pleasantly surprised. That's all. Like, how about an Alvin Mormon? Give me an Alvin Mormon in 2025.
Oh, yeah. Then it's all over. We don't have to ever do this ever again. Spencer Howard. You could get a Spencer Howard jersey.
Yeah. Well, the good thing, too, is, like, now if it's 10 years old and it's random enough, like, that feels like it's been a long time, so it's really old. So if you like a CC Lee or a Preston Guillemette, although I think we might have even had these before. Like, you guys are amazing. Keep doing it.
Tyler
Although
Beatty?
You won't be able to get them at Guards Fest now. That's where they would always have that treasure trove. But if you're out in the wild and you see a Matt Langwell, go spend the money. It'll be worth it.
It will. It's an investment. Just put it down there in the wine cellar and just wait. It'll age beautifully.
Yeah, that Kyle Crockett jersey one day is going to be worth your investment. Josh Houghton. Mark Lowe. Austin Adams.